Florida, where everyone thinks, oh, we're just so red here. Well, we don't really know that entirely, other than our legislature has been commandeered by a very small group of red people, but the state and the majority of the people in the state are not that. And our Democrats are so feckless that there were about 20 potential seats, and they didn't even bother to put candidates in those races. So when people look at us from the national media, like, oh my God, that 20 seats is significant. And that was just one cycle. And so they don't even try.
I think Florida is a great example of exactly why the Democratic Party at almost every level is a failure, because it doesn't represent workers the way that it is. It is a workers' party in name only. And the reason that is proved positive is because of the fact that DeSantis won re-election in the biggest landslide in the history of the state. And then when he attempts to go nationwide, they're like, oh, get the hell out of here.
Right. We don't want that.
So that's a reflection, not that he's so damn popular in the state, even though he is popular in Florida. At the same time, it's a reflection of how weak and disorganized, maybe deliberately, that the Democratic Party is in the state of Florida, as far as I know.
One of my best predictions was that DeSantis could not win outside of Florida.
And you were true. And the thing about him, though, is he's not necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily that he's popular. And remember, low bar. We had Rick Scott.
No, you're Democrats for some time leave a lot. Oh, geez.
Right. So we're when I look at DeSantis versus Rick Scott, I do prefer DeSantis to Rick Scott. I do. And but how absurd is that's what we're looking at, is like an improvement.
And it's the same bar that's set when somebody says that Joe Biden's the best president of my lifetime. It's like, compared to what?
Compared to whom?
Yeah, compared to, you can't even get the bare minimum of things that you absolutely need. And remember, the precedent was set in the first 100 days of his presidency when he threw out the words, the parliamentarian says I can't do it. It's like, that's the end of the presidency.
Yes. You know what? If there was one moment that said it all, thank you for reminding me of that was it. My mind always goes back to the $15 an hour minimum wage thing, because I could not get over the fact that there were eight Democratic senators voted against it, two of whom were from Delaware, right? One of whom we know was mentored by Joe Biden. I mean, just absolutely astounding. What can I say about it? But I want to add one other thing. One of the reasons it was depressing in part to be in Sarasota, although I didn't allow it to ruin my vacation, is that my university was part of a generation of universities. Here, UW Green Bay, that was. Was part of a generation of universities set up around the country that were meant to be innovative and interdisciplinary and, not at all in a traditional higher education structure. And is the same generation as New College in Sarasota. Right. And this is not a great metaphor, but it's hard to think otherwise. They basically raped that school, DeSantis, and that was a really fine, and it was a public liberal arts college, a public honors liberal arts college. It was just a fabulous little institution, and now it's just whacked. Just like smacked around. To me, it was a particular tragedy because it was part of the same generation as mine. And that's what they've done to higher education. The Republicans just love going after higher education. I mean, we pay so much attention to so many things because so many things are underway. The assault it never stops. It just doesn't stop. And the Democrats don't, even when they win, they don't try to reverse the tide. They just don't
win hard enough. They don't fight because they don't really care.
The fact of the matter is, in this state, I can assure you, whether it's down here or in other places, are the Republicans more in bed with the charter school industrial complex? Yes. Oh, for sure. But the Democrats are with them too.
Well, the Democrats don't fight it. You know what? It depends. Florida, our Democrats in our state legislature, a lot of them that we know, they are really solid people that are fighting the good defense, and they live on defense, and that just sucks. Like they don't have time to be putting forward things when they're fighting to just not have the dictionary banned from our public schools. You know what I mean? Like these people live on defense here. So it is kind of pathetic, but just overall nationwide, the Democrats, to me, at least the people in power positions, not the regular people that vote Democrat, the people in power positions, they're very comfortable with the way things are because at the end of the day, they all answer to Capitol. So why it doesn't matter to them.
The other problem that we have, and I'm sure that you've noticed this, whether through your support of Marianne or just overall looking at the landscape of what's going on, this is the weakest incumbent since Jimmy Carter. And it's not up for debate. Like, he's that weak. And when a presidential incumbent is that weak, you don't pretend like he's doing well. If you are a killer, which is what you're supposed to be in the political arena, you go for the throat and tell them, you want us to be out there supporting your ass to get reelected? Here's the list of demands. This is what you're going to do. And if you don't do it, since you are the chief executive of the free world,
we're going to go ask the parliamentarian.
We have the authority. And that's where the 21st century economic bill of rights comes into play.
Well, seriously speaking, again, I don't want to go on to the war question. I was thinking strict to a domestic agenda. Okay.
Yeah, I actually have a question for you domestically, but yes. Okay.
I thought to myself, okay, when Bernie and the squad jumped to endorse Biden, they made no demands,
none
whatsoever, on the domestic agenda. And I don't know if they even, nothing, absolutely nothing. And I thought, wow,
yeah,
what
they're not fighting, and that's what makes me sad. It isn't that I would expect everybody that has my viewpoint sitting in Congress to be effective. I get that. But when it doesn't even seem like they're trying, the fact that Alex is out there plugging Joe, and it's embarrassing, and it's ruining their credibility. And it's just very unfortunate.
And if you remember back when it was clear that they were, putting the full court press and basically, knocking Bernie out again and getting behind Joe. And before COVID took over, you saw the statistics, 80% likely Trump is going to get reelected, which was exceptionally high. And now you're realizing that the reason he lost was because of how he handled a once in a century pandemic. It is a fool's errand to think that this incumbent president is going to win again.
I don't see how he can win.
And because of that, the best thing you can do is force his hand and say, you're not canceling 5% of student debt, which I don't even think it's that amount. It's actually a little less than that. And they're out there touting it like it's the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Go away with your means tested shit.
You can cancel it all.
Right. Means testing is
exactly. Right. That's austerity politics. It's the same thing. The amount of money that's going to be accumulated back through interest alone is going to make up for whatever he canceled anyway. So you've got canceling student debt, you've got decriminalization of cannabis, you can expand healthcare. Yes, you can do that, including to places like the next heir apparent, Gretchen Whitmer in the state of Michigan, because what's happening in Flint is also happening in Kalamazoo, and all of these places are, without question, like East Palestine, they should be able to get universal health care, which has happened before in Montana in places that have been contaminated by the environment. Again, it's not the solution, but it's one that should absolutely be employed. And these are things that the commander-in-chief has the authority to do. And no one even thinks to push him on anything. No pushing whatsoever. In fact, keep your fucking mouth shut and get out there and talk about how great Joe is.
Say how sharp he is.
Because that's what's going to stop Trump in November. It's not.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.